With October 20th only a few days away, the race for the municipal office across the province of Alberta is ending soon. And that means from every corner of this province and every municipality, candidates for mayor, reeve, and council are pitching their last minute visions for stronger communities, smarter growth, and brighter futures. Now, in this edition of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025, we are turning our attention back to the city of Cold Lake, Alberta, where we are honored to be sitting down and speaking with council candidate Glenn Barnes. Glenn, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself and talking about your bid to be a city councillor in the great city of Cold Lake, Alberta. As this is the first time ever appearing on one of my shows, I've got to start with a very simplistic question. Where does your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Glenn?
It comes way back. Thank you for opening the discussion, first of all. It comes way back. I've worked as a municipal employee for all my life and grew up in the trenches and then into management. So this is just an extension of my service to the community.
So, can I play in that sandbox for a second, if you don't mind?
Yes.
What made you decide after this so many years to move from behind the table to in front of the table and start making the decisions at the council table rather than being the one who's proposing the ideas at the council table?
It is just an extension. So you know the background, you understand the service that is provided, the breadth of services that are provided. So it's a matter of now, instead of helping steer the ship, it is steering the ship per se. So I think that is something that I will enjoy and certainly passionate about, and certainly passionate about the community. So steering the ship would be a good opportunity for me and for the rest of the members of council to learn and
So,
understand how municipal operations and how they can affect the lives, because it does affect the lives of residents most than provincial or federal
it,
governments.
are you ready to take off that administrator's hat and put on a governance hat?
Oh
Because at the
yes.
end of the day, you are running to be a governor, counselor for the great city of Cold Lake. What do you see your background being able to fit into that team Cold Lake mentality that next council will have to address?
Yeah, so you do want to take off that hat because you don't want to be getting into the weeds. That is administrations, and I clearly understand the difference between the two, that we do need to steer the ship, give clear direction. So you can look at my background and say, what about it? And that's exactly it. What about it? Because it's although you understand it maybe better than others, that doesn't make you a good counselor. So what makes you a good counselor is obviously listening to the public, talking to the public, taking those ideas, but also looking at other models around the municipalities, not only in Alberta, but throughout Canada, that are useful tools to make Cold Lake successful. So what tools do they use to make them successful, and to bring those back to Cold Lake so we can use those?
Best thing I've ever heard about municipal governments is they are openly willing to steal from the best and they don't have any qualms about it.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Yes.
So you talk about issues, and we could probably chat here for about an hour, hour and a half just about yourself and your background. But the issues are what matters most to the people of Cold Lake, and that is what they're voting on. Now, I often hear from municipal leaders, I have two ears and one mouth, so I should listen twice as much as I speak. But in this segment, I need you to speak about the issues. As you door knock, as you talk to residents of Cold Lake, what are the top three issues that you are hearing from them directly that they want addressed in this upcoming term of government?
Certainly the taxes itself. Then there, like my other ones, fiscal responsibility, spending, and then the last one is really services. Right, crime is another fourth one that comes in there. And then if you want to, go further, we're looking at seniors and those people that we need to help a little bit more.
So let's play in some of those sandboxes. Let's talk about affordability. It's a big question that a lot of municipal leaders will have to address the moment after they get elected because they will have a budget that they will have to pass. Quick question and then the in-depth question. Do you believe, as of this recording, the city of Cold Lake spends the tax dollars that it collects municipally correctly?
No, that's one of the reasons why I'm running, is that I don't think that that correctly is a interesting term. Let's just go to the fact that is it the best spent? And know that it's not best spent, in my opinion, that there are areas that council has acted rashly, emotionally, and didn't think of the best interest of the taxpayers in mind, which is where you want to be, is that Cold Lake needs to take care of its taxpayers first.
Like where? Where have they spent unwisely?
Um, I don't want to go really down that road. I mean, we can all be caught in emotional conversations, good stories, bad stories, sad stories, and it starts to pull at the heartstrings. And so you make really quick decisions. And we want to put measures in place that prevent that from occurring. And you can put measures in place that slow the process down to allow for some second thought to occur. And you don't want to slow it to a grind, but you do want to make sure that you put in place measures so council does not rashly make decisions spending money.
Affordability comes in many different complex areas of our lives, especially when it comes to municipal council. One thing that often is talked about alongside affordability is the service levels that we offer, the municipalities offer to its residents, the tangible action items that we can see. Because traditionally, as much as we can try to plan and try to help out everyone, there are going to be people who just do not use the services that the municipality offers. It's just the name of the game. So you're going to always have some people who just say, we do not use them, so why should we have to pay taxes on them? How do you see your role as councillor in making those tough decisions that the greater good of the community has to sometimes outweigh the needs of the few?
Yeah, that's a tough question. It's a good question. It's a tough question. I mean, it's no different than school taxes. And ridership on the bus is another one. Money spent at a beach or any other facility, recreation. We don't, pools. The questions could go on and on. So for me, a lot of that is pooling of the residents to understand the best interest. We can also use key performance indicators, KPIs, which is it's a performance measuring where you specifically detail certain things, and you can also reach out to the community to get feedback on those specific areas. And I think that's where municipalities miss out the most is setting up when they make a decision, how are we going to measure our success? And so we need to make sure that we measure our success in ways that will be beneficial to all the community, so we can answer those tough questions.
Is that going to be hard? Is that going to be hard to measure success? Because success for the single mother who has what solo income, two children in school, success to her is being able to put her kids in a hockey school at the end of the year and putting them in that the on the ice rink in Cold Lake. Success for the father who's looking for a job is going to the library. And it again, picking random things out of the air. So success is very circumvent and it can mean different things to different people. So how should the municipality measure success in your opinion?
Focused, and this isn't you're not going to win every conversation. So
whoa, 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 breaking news here. Counselors don't win all conversations. Come on, Glenn.
Yeah. And as well as administrators don't win them either. So taking that from experience. So you look at those criteria, and so let's take an example of crime. I'm sure we'll get to that conversation sooner or later. So we want to look at crime, and we know that crime, the RCMP report on crime, and they have crime cases, and they understand their load counts. But what we need to pull from that is the crime that if we're looking at the homelessness, and I mean, this is just one aspect, but if you want to look at that homelessness, you want to look at those how you prevent crime from those areas where they got lower income rates, where crime is focused. So we want to have that conversation with the RCMP and with your enforcement officers and your enforcement unit to understand the details in the crime reporting as to where can we focus our efforts, because you can't do it all. I mean, municipalities get caught up with a wide brush saying we're going to stop crime. Well, it's the question that comes to me is, well, where do you want to start? You can't do it all. Let's start somewhere. For us right now, I think it's the local crime through homelessness, and so we need to focus our efforts in my opinion, and from what I'm hearing from the public, is in that area right now,
So
and in
how do
certain areas of the town, city.
so let's play in that sandbox because crime and safety is one of the issues that I'm hearing, not just from yourself, but many of the candidates and the mayoral candidates who are running in this important election. Now, crime and safety is one of those overarching things that the municipality doesn't have that much responsibility in dealing with. Yes, you are on the ground. Yes, the municipality is there. They're the ones who suffer from the crime and challenges, but you do not control the criminal code. You do not control the provincial courthouses. So, therefore, the things that you can do is offer, and I hate to use this word, throw money at the issue and try to solve it that way. So, how does the municipality try to solve the crime issue, the houselessness issue, the vagrancy issue with the small amount of resources that it has in its toolbox?
Agreed. So we a lot of that understanding that we are limited, understanding that we have partners, the RCMP and our enforcement group and the community as far as reporting goes, that we need to make sure that we can house our people properly, that they're so retention and attraction is a big component of that. That's a big component of any job. So we have that component that we can play a role in. We can play a role in that cooperation and focus. Have a focus, have that conversation, and focus coordinated efforts on certain areas or aspects of crime. Again, we can't do it all, and I'm sure that the people on the front lines will have a conversation and or opinion as to how they best do that. And I think that's where we need to be, is we need to have that conversation. We need to have a focused mandate and not just a broad sweeping mandate, but we're going to provide public safety. Well, what does that look like is the question. What does that really look like?
And what does that look like from the people that you're talking to on the ground in Cold Lake? Because everyone's going to have their own opinions on how they have to feel safe in their community. And I've been to Cold Lake a few times, a few years ago, not in the last year, but I will be there literally the moment after this airs because I'm heading up there this weekend for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So
nice.
what how do we make people feel safe in 2025? Because
Well, it's listening to them. In listening to them, we know that the bus services has some issues in regards to its safety. We know certain areas of town have some concern with regards to loitering. And so through urban design, through cooperation with the RCMP, through coordinated efforts with our enforcement service, with coordinated efforts to deal with camps that are in town, through that urban design, again, not making it easy on people would be a good thing. And I say that with some concern because we're not here to make people's lives rough, but we are trying to make sure that people are safe. And sometimes that's a competing factor. And me, it's always the taxpayer who comes first. So we have to look at those taxpayers that come first, and then we look at the rest, because that other component really is more of a regional issue. And I'll talk about the homelessness and certainly a building here in Cold Lake that does support and provide support for the homeless, which is a fantastic thing. However, if we're not going to get the support from the surrounding area because they're going to say it's not their sandbox, then you have to ask yourself, can we do this alone? And then the other question, are we helping? And I can't answer that question, but are we helping, or are we enabling them to continue what they're doing, living that lawlessness or the way that they want to live? And I respect the fact that they want to live that way, but we also have to respect the fact that there's expectations on ratepayers and the society as a whole. And so how do we manage that is the best way to go about it.
do you feel safe in Cold Lake?
Yes.
So again, it all comes down to your personal feelings about this, and
Yes.
we're never going to make everyone feel 100% safe because it is the name of the game. How much of that stakeholder relationship, that collaboration with the MD of Bonnyville, with the First Nations that surround you, with the town of Bonnyville, with the provincial government and federal government, do you want to be part of in this next term of office if the voters let you, because we need strong partnerships regionally and provincial and federally. Do you see yourself being able to play a role in helping foster that relationship to tackle these big challenges like crime and safety in your community?
Yes, that I think it needs to be rotated because everyone needs to be aware of the factors that go into it. So I don't have a problem playing a part, and I don't have a problem stepping down and letting somebody else learn and understand that component, because we all need to understand the factors around of that. It's nice that somebody's informed, but we all need to be informed at the same time. So I'll step up to the plate and be engaged and have those conversations, not only with our municipal bodies, but with First Nations in the province as well, and the Métis, that this is a regional issue, and how are we going to solve it regionally? Now, granted, some only talk to the federal side because of their relationships. That may not go as smoothly as others. Some may say that this is not in our sandbox, and I understand that too. That's fair to say. But nevertheless, it's reality. And so then maybe that shifts to the province to understand we need you in this conversation in order to motivate the rest of us.
Now we are about 17 minutes into the conversation, and I have not heard the one thing that I have always heard when I talk about Cold Lake, and that is that beautiful, amazing, amazing, spectacular Highway 28 and the challenges that come with it. Now, now, Glenn, when you're door knocking, is Highway 28 coming up, and is it an issue that people want to see finally addressed after so long of people talking about it? Let's actually get it done. Is it something that's coming up at the doorsteps?
It does come up, yes, but it's usually later in the conversation. It's not the top three, not even maybe the top five, but we understand that this is an issue for economics and for the city, and I think for the region. If we're going to talk about regional development, regional growth, which should be talked about, regional transportation. I was just talking to, we had our all candidates meeting last night, and I was talking to a councillor from the town, a candidate, and they're talking about regional transportation back and forth, right? And so we need to have that regional transportation. We need to have good transportation back and forth as a region. So that's a regional concept that we need to put together. That includes the MD, that includes the town, that includes the city. And I always thought about petitioning, if I may, I thought that maybe we should petition the province, since the province seems to respond to petitions, that we should petition as a region and submit that, because they seem to respond favorably to the overall percentages of the municipality or the region as to which way they want to go. So whether it's, province or local.
Hey, if you start a petition, Glenn, that is about Highway 28, and I will happily sign that one. So that way in 4 years' time, we don't continue to have the same conversation about Highway 28. So we talk about affordability, we talk about crime. What is the other third big one? And I apologize if I'm getting you to repeat yourself.
Spending, fiscal responsibility could be in there, public safety. Well, another one that I probably want is asset or growth assessment based. This is municipal structure. This talks about municipal structure. So how should we, this is important for us as we grow with the F-35 coming on board, with us starting to see a little bit more expansion other than just the oil fields. Growth or structure of how a municipality wants to structure itself is really important to us. To just create layers of government is probably not the best way to go. We've been through that experience, and we know that through any sort of consultant's profile, you can only have so many people reporting to you, and then the pyramid starts to climb. So how do we better do that, yet still provide those services? So it's assessment-based strategies that we need to deal with. And the other one is just change through leadership. That's my understanding and knowledge of municipal government.
So change in leadership is a very bold statement. Are you talking about change in leadership in administration or change in leadership
No.
at council? Because we're going to see a big change in leadership in council this term around this election, because Craig Copeland is not running for re-election. So therefore, the great city of Cold Lake is going to have a new mayor. What do you mean by change in leadership?
So it's just change through leadership.
Oh, through leadership.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from leadership, yes.
Oh,
Yes. So you want to be leading instead of led is really what it comes down to. Is you want to make sure that you're leading those conversations. You are the one active in those conversations as opposed to just receiving the information. So we want to be leaders in what we do and how we do it, and not just following along, not really understanding the outcomes, right? So we need to assess the outcomes better.
so, and I apologize if I get this wrong, but what's the population of Cold Lake right now?
Oh, call it
17,000?
16.5. Let's
Okay,
16.5.
let's say 16.5. 16,500 people in the city of Cold Lake. That means there is, give or take some newborn kids who just were born this week, let's say 16,000 voices and opinions that are going to be hammering you on a yearly basis to say, these are the top priorities for us. These are the issues that are most important to us. Now, they may seem small at the end of the day, they may seem inconsequential, but at the end of the day, those are the concerns of those 16,000 residents. How do you ensure that the issues that the city is dealing with, affordability, around infrastructure, around crime, doesn't just take up the entire conversation and we deal with the issues that are important to the, I don't want to say common resident because it sounds so superficial, but the the residents of Cold Lake, because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
pothole in front of John's house that you've heard about probably more times than not in this election is the most important pothole. But you don't have a limited supply of money where you can fix everyone's issue. So how do you try to make sure you are being the best counselor for everyone, knowing that you're going to have to upset people?
So let's take the pothole. Let's take the street, because they usually like to say streets. We know we got an asset management plan. We know we've got staff in there to do a great job of explaining asset management and the role and the process behind it, the ideology behind it as to how asset management. Well, now asset management around for many years. It's not a difficult conversation for me. I actually wrote up a thesis on asset management years ago. So
Can we nerd out about asset management for about 10 minutes then?
no, I don't think the public are going to like that.
Go ahead.
So we can explain to them how the city operates from an asset management point of view, because that's the best way to spend its taxpayers' dollars in regards to the road. I mean, asset management, it was really designed for roads. You've got services underneath. You don't want to be digging up, putting your new services down or putting the road down and then having to dig up the services later. So that's one. Getting back to what's the word I'm looking for here? Key performance indicators. Maintenance on road is a good one to try and we all talk about roads and the cost of shave and pave, peel, however you want to do or extend the life of an asset. But it's the maintenance, the cut ups that needs to be tracked as well. So, but to get to your point, it's really about pivoting. We know that we can't stay on those four key or five key priorities every year. They have to change. They can't see the same. They can't be public safety. They need to be narrowed down better than that. So we need to focus on narrowing those down so we're specific, so we can then measure those goals. And then we also need to learn that we need to pivot, because hopefully those come off and we can add a new one on, right? Maybe it's still public safety, but it's a different aspect of public safety that we need to deal with. So you see these and it gets from somebody from the outside or from the inside, and we see the same old conversations over and over again, and nothing gets removed. It's because for me, it's not focusing enough on where you want to be. And so
Because at the end of the day, you have to granularize everything when you talk through a municipal lens, because fixing infrastructure is great. But if you say you're going to fix infrastructure, that is going to be on that list of things that you're going to have to deal with every single year, because
Yep.
infrastructure never changes. But if you
No.
say we need to fix Fourth and Main, or the pipes that are underneath the downtown core, that is tangible items that people can say, oh, this is what the priorities are. So it comes up to the conversation about transparency around the next term of council as well. How do you ensure that you are transparent with people? Because you need to be out there 24/7 during the campaign. But on October 21st, once you're elected, or on October 20th, once you're elected, on October 21st, you can't say, okay, I've done the campaign. I know what people's concerns are. Because if we had this conversation in December, as a former staffer, you will know people will be complaining about the state of snow removal in the city, because that is the thing that they see. So it all depends on the time we're talking. So how do you ensure that you're going to be transparent with people, but also accountable to the people who've elected you?
Well, I think accountability is that component, right, of transparency, that you need to be accountable. You need to be available for these people. You need to respond in any sort of conversation we have. It's telephone, text, email, personal, and then get back to them, because you're not going to have you're not going to have all those answers. You make sure that you're going to get back to them. You want to be transparent. We want to be detailed in our conversations, so we are transparent, so that if they don't like that direction, they can tell us, I don't want us to focus on X. I want us to focus on F. Fine. If that's the way you want to go, let's build a direction and a measuring tool to focus on F, and let's go. So you have to be prepared to pivot, because we are at the taxpayers' beck and call and their direction. Now, it does come with administration backlog, and
I think that's the
and
nicest way I've ever heard administration described as backlog.
let's say steering the ship. It takes a long time to steer the ship. So there is, I mean, because there is council right now asking staff to do X number of things, and their expectation is to continue on those things, and that may be still the case. But if we need to turn the ship, those things are not forgotten. We can't forget those, because they were important too. So it's a matter of administration coming back to us and saying, okay, here's how we can do this, and are you comfortable with this sort of time frame? And that's
How
what, that conversation.
So we have transparency, we have the issues that are in front of us. How important is it for you to be truthful with the residents of Cold Lake when, if you get elected? Because you're going to have to say no to some people, because people are just going to come to you with many different issues that they believe is the most important issue. We need more ice rinks, so we need to build a new arena. We need X, Y, or Z. We need an outdoor pool for the summer, even though you are literally on a lake. But there are going to be people who come to you who just have, I don't want to say high in the sky concerns, but they have concerns that just are unrealistic. How important will it be for you to be truthful to the people to ensure that you're not BSing them when it comes to the issues that you are voting on and how you are voting on them?
You always want to be truthful to them. Now, you also want to be delicate. Saying no, as we know, is probably not the best way to get voted in. But there is realities in life. And so it's about having that conversation, working with them to get them to understand some of the challenges that might be in there, and how we can move forward in doing so. And some of that is legwork. It's like we heard about the arts at the all candidates meeting. We want an arts. Well, my first thought is, do we have the support for the arts? And so I mean, I'm in big favor of it. I know other councillors are in big favor of it. We know that we're one that was just built just down the road from us. So it's like pools and stuff like that. But that's not the issue. The issue is, can Cold Lake support that sort of complex? And so it's about going back to that key performance indicators. So when those industries, whether it's private or public, have an event, it's about documenting who was there, how many were there, what was it about, what day it was on, and can we keep this facility open on a regular basis to, I'm not saying to have a, no cost to the municipality or its taxpayers. That's something that we have to have a decision about. But it has to create revenue, and it has to be a place that people continually want to go to. So how does that work? How do you see that? How do you make sure that somebody's always going? I've been to too many municipalities, and half the time the building's closed. And I'm not saying right or wrong, is that we can only have so many art shows, and right, and so we need something more. We've got some people in the community, some organizations in the community that can fill it, but that's like tasking everybody else. You can't do it every day. You can't do it every week. And so, do we have the capacity in Cold Lake to fill the building on a regular basis? No different than ice time or hockey or soccer or lacrosse. Is it, do you have the capacity to have that league here?
I agree. I want to turn to the future because I'm very cautious of time here, and we got about 10 minutes left because I said about 40 minutes, and I know you're a busy man because you're out campaigning. We're in the last stretch of this campaign, and you need to hit as many doors as possible before the 20th. So, as of October 21st, if you are so lucky by the people of Cold Lake, they vote for you. You are not deciding who else gets to sit around that table. You don't get to decide who your team Cold Lake will be. That is the voters' prerogative. And that means you might have to sit across from people who may disagree with you on issues. How do you see yourself fitting into the team Cold Lake approach when you may have to sit across from people who oppose what you think, don't agree with how you want to move the city forward, and at the end of the day, realizing you're one vote. So you need to get four other people on that council to vote in favor or against something. Can you
Yeah,
be a team player?
I can be a team player. Now, understanding you're not going to agree with everybody. And I did take the time, and everyone took the time to come and meet with me and have some conversations to understand what we stand for and where our priorities lie. And that's great. Being in a municipal government, you know that you're not going to be, there's always rubs one way or another. Uh, so whether it's policy development, whether it's cost and finance, whether it's exposure and liability, trust me, I've had conversations about exposure and liability. And so where we want to make sure that we are is that we understand, we respect each other, and we can walk out of that building together, knowing that we continue to walk the same path. There will be days that we shake our heads and trying to figure out where they're coming from. So it's on me as well to make sure I have an understanding of how they want to get there, knowing that I might know a little bit more inside work. It's about that conversation. It's about having an understanding of how do you want to get to where you want to be? What is that goal? What does it look like to you? And where is it that you see us going? And so,
On the flip side of that equation, though, I'm going to burst your bubble a little bit here, and I apologize. I have to do it. I've done it a lot
okay.
of times. So if you've listened to the show, you know where the one of the areas I burst people's bubbles. You are not going to get 100% of the vote in this election. Not going to happen. And if you do, congratulations, you'll be one of the few, but you're not. So that means there are going to be people who say, I just don't like Glenn, but he is now my counselor. And if I have an issue, I'm going to have to go to Glenn and talk to him. And if Glenn is going to vote on something, I want him to hear my perspective, even though he may disagree with that. How do you see yourself after October 20th representing everyone in the city of Cold Lake? Because you are not there just to represent the people who voted for you, the people who agree with you, the people that you have on your social media pages. You are there to represent everyone. How do you envision yourself doing that?
Well, that's just it. I mean, even the people that vote for me may not like a direction that I'm going, right? And so if I get that enough people to come to me and say, Glenn, give your head a shake, you got to go this way, I have no problem presenting that. Now, am I going to present it with all the detail? Probably not. But I will present it in a way that's saying my taxpayers are saying we need to go in this direction. I need to have that conversation with you about going in this direction. And we need to maybe it's only my area that I'm getting it from. Maybe there's other people that don't, and other councils that don't. But I need to have that and trees in local areas or on your municipal reserves. I need this tree down, and other people say, no, that's a lovely tree. All trees have to stand. So you have those conversations. You have those focused areas. There's a word, I can't think of the word right now, but it's okay. Yeah. And so we need just to be able to have those conversations, present those conversations, and move on.
Okay, so we are about 35 minutes, 40 minutes into the conversation, and I want to end with three questions. One, before I do that, I should mention, because this is airing on Friday, October 10th, if you are a candidate running in the city of Cold Lake and want to be featured on this show, you have to do a little bit of the legwork and reach out to us today. That means October 10th and October 11th, because next week we are closing up shop for the Alberta Municipal Affairs 2025 series, and we are on the road in Saskatchewan because we have some events that we have to cover there, and we're going to be speaking at an event in Saskatchewan. So that means that if you want to be featured on the show for the last week, you have to reach out to us today, October 10th, or tomorrow, October 11th, to get on the show ASAP. I know it's Thanksgiving weekend, but politics does not stop for holidays as much as people may think it does. So with that being said, I do have three last questions. And the first one is, now we've talked about a lot of issues over the last 35 minutes, but there's probably something I've missed. What do you want to talk to the people of Cold Lake about? What do you want to make sure they know about why you are running in this campaign?
So a lot of people talk about their passion and commitment, and I really don't talk about that. So I do want to take a minute just to talk about passion, commitment, experience, respect, all those language terms that people use, common. And it is important to have those. I mean, it is the basic functions that you must have. Those things: good communication, respect, dedication, commitment to the community, all must be part of that. And I do have those. I moved to Cold Lake 9 years ago. I love it here, and I want to stay here. And I do want to see this community prosper. I think it can, and we just need to work harder at it.
I appreciate that. Now, there's going to be people who say, Chris, you should have followed up on this, or you should have asked Glenn this. But guess what? It's my show, and I get to ask the questions. If you want to start your own municipal podcast, do it, because I highly recommend it. But for those who are listening and do want to try to narrow down their decision for October 20th, how can people reach out to you, Glenn, and get in contact with you and ask the questions that we didn't get to chat about today?
Certainly, they can email me. They can, I'm on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebook person. I tend to stay away from that sort of thing. Email. They can, my phone number is there, or any of the counselors that are out there. They know how to get a hold of me. So reach out to a candidate. They know how to get a hold of me. Reach out to myself through email, through text, through Facebook. Be happy to talk to them.
So the email address and Facebook page will be in the show notes below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, scroll down, you can click on the information there. Or if you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, you can click the show notes, and you can find the links to Glenn's email address and Facebook page as well. So my final question, and this is the point in time of the conversation where I turn the microphone over to you, and you can talk for as little or as long as you want to, Glenn. On October 20th, why should the people of Cold Lake put their trust in you as their next counselor for the city of Cold Lake?
That's a loaded question.
But it's the reason you're running.
That's right. Right. I am running to improve the city, to make it a better place for all of us. I can understand some of those points that many of the points that challenge us altogether. So I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have the background, I have the commitment.
Nice and simple. Glenn, this was an honest to goodness pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy campaign to sit down with me. I look forward to hopefully continue this conversation after Election Day, and we can meet in person and we can have a conversation for the other show when you are a counselor for the great city of Cold Lake. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Chris, and I look forward to it.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. Quick editorial note. If you are a candidate running in this upcoming election and want to be featured on this show, reach out to us directly over the weekend and we will get you on the show next week. Now, on Tuesday, it will be the very last day of this series, Alberta Municipal Votes 2025. That is because a week later, we are going to be in election mode. On Monday, October 20th, we are going live at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time on YouTube to talk about this important election with stakeholders, with former mayors, former councillors, current councillors, getting reaction live throughout the night about us all-important municipal election. So you do not want to forget and do not want to miss that upcoming episode. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube so you don't miss our live election night show. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs shortly. Till then, everyone.